So you clicked on this video for one of two reasons. First reason, pure curiosity. You heard the term shadow work and you didn't quite know what it is, what's going on. So you're just here to sort of figure out what is it and how does it go. The second reason is a bit more serious. Maybe you found that there is a behavior that you do, something that you don't even quite understand, something that you do that sort of keeps you from your happiness. You're self-sabotaging yourself. Any strive you have towards bettering yourself is sabotaged. And you just want to find a way to just let it go. You're in the right place. In this video, I'm going to tell you what shadow work is, how to find your shadow, and I'll also give you 4 questions that you can ask yourself to start on your shadow work journey. Hi, my name is Alana, and just like you, I've scoured the internet looking for the best ways to improve my life. So on this channel, I give you the best tips and tricks that have improved my life and the lives of others. So if you like the sound of that, click on that little subscribe button down below. Did you do it? Good. Now back to the video. The shadow. The term the shadow actually comes from Carl Jung. Carl Jung was the close colleague of Sigmund Freud. Sigmund Freud being the founder of psychoanalysis. Now, how Carl Jung defines the shadow is any aspect of yourself that you have repressed or hidden away from yourself that didn't fit into society's standards of who you should be. The shadow, though it may have some dark undertones of the shadow is not necessarily a negative thing. It's not the big bad boogeyman. Isn't anything really negative or evil. I like to think of it as that one closet you have in your house, or that one junk drawer where you sort of stuff all sorts of things that don't quite match your house, match your decor, and you sort of just stuff them in there and then close it, never to be seen again. But what happens to that junk drawer? What happens to that storage closet? It just gets bigger and fuller until there's a time that you can't really close that drawer. So what do? You have to finally open that drawer, open that closet, and actually analyze what's in there. Figure out what do you actually need and what things have to go. That is what shadow work is. Let me give you an example from my own life. I am a naturally empathetic person. That means I feel a lot of people's energies. When people are happy around me, I am happy. When people are sad around me, I am sad. When people are frustrated, I'm frustrated. But as a child, feeling those kinds of energies, what did I do? I cried a lot. So when I was at school, I was labeled a crybaby. And I felt like I couldn't express myself. I felt all these intense emotions around me, and the only way I knew to express them was to cry. But society around me told me it wasn't good to cry. Then I get home and it is reinforced that I'm not supposed to cry. In fact, my father used to make fun of my crying by actually conducting my cries and my tears. And then add on top of that, as I grow older in society, through media, there's this big push on how the African American woman is a strong woman. When you think of someone who is strong, you don't usually think of somebody who cries. So what did I do? I took that emotional aspect of myself and I repressed it. I put it away in my own little mental junk drawer. And guess what would happen? Almost like clockwork, every year, something would just set me off. And I would cry almost uncontrollably for at least an hour, feeling all this sadness and, for lack of a better word, dark energy, just to release it. And then after that was done, I felt awful about it. Awful that I had even cried, and then tried to close my junk drawer again. It wasn't until I actually did this shadow work that I was able to truly analyze what was happening. That I had been trained through society that I shouldn't ever cry. So I was able to take that aspect of myself, look at it, analyze it, and then integrate it into myself, into my conscious, into who I am. And now I cry. When I feel the need to, I just cry and I don't judge myself about it. That's what shadow work can do for you. So you might be wondering, okay, so what do I do? How do I find my shadow? Okay, what's up? So how you can do this is you probably have a undesirable behavior. Do you find that you eat a lot during certain times of the year, or you have an obsession with people or an obsession with things? I want you to write that undesirable behavior, and I want you to write it down on a piece of paper or in your journal. Write on a clean piece of paper right at the top, that one undesirable behavior you have. Now, for the next thing, I want you to think back. Are there any other undesirable behaviors you do? Do you do these behaviors deal with people? Usually the other behaviors are not as intense as this one that you truly want to get rid of. But maybe it's just that, I don't feel as confident as I feel I should be around a certain amount of people. Or you find that you seem to overcompensate yourself around certain people. Write down all of the undesirable behaviors you have. The next thing I want you to do is to look at that list of undesirable behaviors you have and see if there's any patterns. Are there any things that seem similar? Like you have an attachment to certain people and you have an attachment to certain things. Are there any behaviors that seem contradictory, where you feel like you're too demanding in one situation, yet you're very passive in another? Make those connections. Are the majority of your bad behaviors show up in a certain situation or a certain group of people, whether that is business, social, or familial? Just take a look at it. I want you to just look at it. I want to remind you that sometimes these groupings are not all clear-cut. You're not going to go from one big grouping to a smaller grouping to a smaller grouping. Sometimes you can, but most times you're not. You're just trying to see the patterns. The next thing I want you to do, it's the time to analyze. There's an exercise I really do like where you pretend that you're in a room with your undesirable behavior and you ask that behavior why. I have about 4 questions that might help you start on this journey. The first question that you can ask this undesirable behavior: what are you protecting me from? This behavior is here to protect you. So ask it, what are you protecting me from? The second question that you should ask this behavior is, how long have you been here? The third question you should ask this behavior is, when did you first arrive? The fourth and final question you should ask this behavior is, what do you need? Now, these 4 questions are really just introductory questions into your shadow work. Most times when you ask these questions of these behaviors, listen for their response. Your mind, your body knows why it does this, why it's doing those behaviors. But I must emphasize, none of the answers that your behaviors should give you is I don't know. I don't know is a defense mechanism, a way of pushing back on you actually finding out what's going on. If you do this work for several weeks, for a month, and you can't get past the I don't know stage, I feel like it is the time for you to get professional help. Thank you for listening to me about shadow. I hope this cleared up a little bit of what shadow work is and how to work with your shadow work, at least the beginning stages of it. If you have any questions about shadow work or how to use it in your daily life, put a comment down below and I'll try to answer everyone's questions. So, until next time. Okay. List of undesirable. I want you, and my foot is asleep.